And we get to see it again. SKT just have so few weaknesses you can exploit. Early game, they're strong. Mid game, they're fantastic. Late game, they're even greater. Individual players showing up big time. You point at someone like Blank being like, oh, underperforming jungler. But then in the best of series, he had 0 issues once he got subbed in. And that really makes it so hard to beat SKT.
And even playstyle that you criticize is their bottom lane, it's passive. Maybe you can exploit that. They play against Uzi Mata. Guess what? You can't exploit them. They can go toe-to-toe with the best. You know, Faker, if you send multiple people into his lane, you can frustrate him. You can rattle him and get in his head. He has risen to the occasion today and had a great series.
Chicago Theatre, put your hands together for your second semi-finalist of Worlds 2016. It's SK Telecom T1.
Yay! We did it for you.
They were cheering while I was talking.
Ah, of course, of course. But really, you talked about RNG, you know, people calling it sloppy or whatever. I think in this series here, yes, there were some individual mistakes, but RNG still learned a lot compared to what we saw in the LPL playoffs as an example, where it was a lot of early mistakes, like way more than this as a team. Here you can look at Mlxg and maybe say under the pressure he crumbled. Individual players in the end didn't show up, but I think RNG as a team still, especially with game 1 in mind, actually had a pretty good performance.
Yeah, definitely agree with that. And I think that you have to look at people like Mlxg and xiaohu and think, you know, they do have a long time left in their League of Legends career and that they went toe-to-toe with some of the best today. I mean, Faker in that mid lane is certainly no slouch, and xiaohu did step up to the occasion. It's just that SKT are too good in this situation. You can't make the same kind of mistakes in game 2 and 3 that they did, and they're going to beat you for that.
Is that problem where whenever a team makes a great play, sometimes you expect the other team to mess up? SKT doesn't do that. They just make a great play in return. So you can keep making good plays, and if you make one mistake, well, they won't make the same mistake, and they punish you straight away for it, and then you end up losing a few kills. And once you give away some of the advantage going into mid-game, SKT just turns it on. They know exactly what to do, where to gank, where to send members. And that's why they're so difficult to play against. I mean, play perfect League of Legends and you can beat them. They make mistakes. They just make way less mistakes than other teams.
And I think that what this series really demonstrated to me is the fact that even though they're a great team, these individual members are way underrated in like terms of what they actually can do on Summoner's Rift. Wolf time and time again was able to scout out flanks and then mechanically outplay great players. That to me was like, that's scary when not only are they playing great as a team, but the individual players are just continually stepping up and matching the pace.
2 out of the 4 semi-final teams have been locked in. It is both Korean squads. We are looking more and more likely to have a Korea versus Korea final. And SKT have a history of getting better as the tournament goes on. This level that we saw here today, is this their final form, or is there still room to even improve? I mean, they did drop a game, so I guess the answer is yes.
Yeah, boring answer. There's always room to improve. Obviously, I think we saw a few things here and there, but it's minimal, you know. SKT played extremely well, especially outside of laning phase. There's so few things you can kind of highlight. Because we were watching it, obviously, with vision on both sides. Yeah. They're only watching with their information.
And you still need some luck to beat this team. I mean, if it's not Double Mountain Infernal, did RNG even win game 1? I mean, the Baron was so incredibly quick. So, you know, you need to play a great League of Legends, then you need to be incredibly lucky at the same time.
I think I'm going to go back and watch the alternate stream for that one, because it was the Nightmare stream. It was Fog of War from RNG's point of view.
See nothing.
We're getting ready for the interview. You can hear from the crowd exactly who that's going to be. But for RNG, the tournament is now done. Yeah. They are over. They will be going home. It is the same result this time in the quarterfinals, not semifinals, against SKT. It was always going to be an uphill struggle, and they just didn't have the magic.
I think game 1 and 4, they will look at and they'll be like, we came in, we did it our way, we won one of them, we lost one of them. What the heck happened in game 2 and 3? Yeah. If they could have played 4 games like that, they would have left Worlds, even if it was at this stage, much happier than what I think they are now.
And while SKT look fantastic, we have to remember there are teams like Samsung, who's also looked really, really good from group stage into the quarterfinal, who has a lot of experience playing against SKT. Rocks Tigers are heavy favorites to make it into semifinal as well. Yep. There are definitely teams who are close to as good, if not as good as SKT, and can definitely challenge them in best out of 5s.
We're going to see who qualifies and who will be challenging them in the semifinals. For now, though, let's send it down to Shux, who's standing by for a post-game interview with Faker.
Thank you very much, Trevor. Well, the crowd is definitely excited. SKT advancing to the semifinals. Faker, congratulations up first. Talk to me about the series. Dropped the first game, much like at MSI, but then completely took off. What was the experience? How did you reset after game 1 to go into a 3-1 victory?
우선 4강 진출 축하드리고요. 오늘 경기에서 1경기에서는 RNG 팀의 일격을 맞았는데 금방 경기력을 회복해서 내리 3경기를 이겼습니다. 어떻게 그렇게 바로 리셋을 해서 좋은 경기력을 끌어올렸는지 말씀해 주세요.
제가 1경기 때 손도 좀 많이 차갑고 약간 제가 플레이가 많이 안 돼서 1경기 때 미드 라인에서 압박을 많이 못 넣어줬는데 2경기 때부터는 좀 잘 돼서 그냥 좀 자연스럽게 잘 된 것 같아요.
So at game 1, actually my hand was still cold and I don't think I was like warmed up completely, and so I didn't perform too well. But starting from game 2, I got to have my games going on and I had some good plays. So I think starting from that point, it was okay for us, yeah.
Well, you did win. It was a very interesting matchup to watch because it was the same one at MSI, but now Uzi was on the roster for RNG. How much different was this matchup versus them as it was to the one at MSI?
MSI 4강에 이어서 다시 한번 RNG 팀을 붙게 되었는데 그 당시 RNG 팀과 다른 점은 이번엔 우지 선수가 로스터에 추가되었는데요. 그 당시 RNG 팀과의 경기랑 이번 경기는 어떻게 달랐었는지 말씀해 주세요.
그때 당시나 지금이나 좀 강력한 팀인 건 맞지만 그때보다 이번 경기가 저는 좀 더 쉬웠다고 보고 이번 경기에서 좀 상대가 롤드컵 경험도 없고 또 뭔가 약간 긴장된 듯한 플레이를 보여서 저희가 좀 더 쉽게 이겼던 것 같습니다.
So I think like compared to MSI and now RNG is still a really strong team, but actually I think today's game was easier compared to our MSI matchup because I think they were maybe a bit nervous or they were on their like own games. So I think overall today was an easier game for us.
And you guys looked fantastic as well, and that means you're advancing to the semifinal now, and there you will go up against or the Rocks Tigers or EDG, and those are both opponents that you have a lot of history with. So who would you rather face and why is that?
다음 4강전에서는 락스 타이거즈 팀 또는 EDG 팀과 붙게 되었는데 두 팀 다 SKT랑 매우 사연이 많은 팀들인데요. 그 두 팀 중 어느 팀과 붙길 원하시는지 그리고 왜 붙고 싶어하는지 말씀해 주세요.
저는 어떤 팀이 올라오든 다 재밌을 것 같아서 크게 상관은 없는 것 같고 근데 만약에 EDG가 락스를 꺾고 올라오면은 좀 락스를 꺾고 올라오면 얼마나 강력한가라고 좀 생각을 할 것 같아서 좀 무서울 것 같아요.
So I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup, whichever team advances. But if EDG beats Rocks, that would mean that they're a really good team enough to beat Rocks. So that'd be kind of scary for us.
That would be, we'll see. Finally, Faker, there were a lot of cheers here for you today. The crowd absolutely loves you. Well, and North America was also where you won your very first World Championship. Is there anything you want to say to them?
일단 여기 지금 현장에서 많은 팬들이 페이커 선수를 응원해주고 있고 특히 미국은 페이커 선수가 첫 롤드컵 우승을 거둔 나라이기도 한데요. 마지막으로 팬들에게 한마디 말씀 부탁드리겠습니다.
정말로 미국에 올 때마다 좀 호응이 대단한 것 같고 뭐 이번에 저희가 발전된 모습을 보여주면서 북미 팬들한테 좀 좋은 모습 보여주고 싶네요. 아무튼 많이 응원해 주셔서 감사하다고 말씀드리고 싶어요.
So I'm really thrilled with the crowd reaction whenever I come to the States to play, and we'll try our best to improve so we can show a better performance. So please keep cheering for us and support us. Thank you.
And that they do. Thank you very much, SKT and Faker in the semifinals. And now Dash is going to wrap up the day for us.